This isn't going to be the usual kind of anniversary commemoration. I originally was planning on doing another Bambi-centric video to keep my theme going from the previous three other anniversary uh, commemorations, but recent events in my life made me feel like it was more appropriate to talk about those instead. If this is your first time seeing a video of mine, welcome in. I'm the real John, and this is outside my usual format and setup. I'm usually in a movie theater talking about movies in some regard, hence the name The Real John. It's a play on reel to reel film, you see. And the show name, Deer in Projector Lights. And this June not only marks 5 years of me being a VTuber in the form of a reactive PNG, but also 14 years of talking about movies online, since mid-June was the time in 2012 when I had uploaded my first ever video back when I was one of the many would-be nostalgia critic style reviewers. In the time since then, I have taken on multiple formats as I struggled to maintain a steady production and release schedule on my own. I started with video, then did a blog with written reviews, then tried video again, then podcasted for 4 years until I burned myself out right before the pandemic hit. Went back to video, but felt self-conscious about being on camera this time around. By that point, I had discovered VTubing and decided to try that instead, and did so in the form of Twitch streams, one of which each week was me reviewing the newest releases and anything else that I had watched the previous week. Then, after burning myself out again on 5 streams a week schedule, I returned back to video, this time focusing on short form videos for TikTok and YouTube Shorts, in between what I had hoped to be longer form videos for YouTube Standard. What instead happened is everything went completely off the rails. Again, I go into it in more detail in my other YouTube as art therapy videos from this year, but to recap, I got PTSD from a job at a halfway house before the pandemic hit. Then the pandemic and the lockdowns hit. I discovered VTubers and began life as a PNG on the internet before eventually finding part-time work at a library. And then I found a job at a library that was closer to home, but which also ended up triggering my PTSD without me realizing it until I had left. And now I have been working in a more laid-back library system for about a year. In the meantime, my creativity kept hitting wall after wall as, even though the anxiety from my day job was down, I still suffered from mental and physical health issues that kept setting me back. But more drastically, I began a long, slow crash out from the years of trying to build and maintain parasocial relationships with fellow VTubers, 99% of which were all one-sided. Yes, I too suffer from the VTuber trope of not having real friends and being unable to form meaningful social bonds in this space. A space that's driven not by a sense of community and connection, but competition and self-interest, if we're being honest. And even after recognizing this about myself in that first video back in February, I thought things would somehow improve if I just changed up which VTubers I invested my time and energy in. As though that was the problem. I just hadn't found the right ones to invest all of my time and energy in yet. It wouldn't finally hit me until the week of recording this video what was the underlying source of so many of my problems. On Monday, June 15th, 2026, for posterity, my best friend invited me out to a local to us amusement park so we could spend time together and hang out. I went and didn't think anything of it at the time, but the next day while I was at work, I was feeling overwhelmed. Like there was this overbearing weight on my chest and this overbearing sense of anxiety and trouble breathing that I had. And at one point, while I was at work, it finally dawned on me that I was feeling this way because I was overstimulated. This was that feeling of overstimulation that people on the spectrum get. If you don't know what I'm talking about, people on the autism spectrum, like myself, will get overstimulated when there's too much sensory input coming at us at one time. And we'll get overwhelmed and feel anxious, and it'll cause us to shut down and need to, break away, and it'll make us feel agitated. And so it finally dawned on me that that's what I was feeling. And then it hit me that what was overstimulating me were the constant social media feeds I was scrolling through and the dozens of VTuber related Discord servers that I was in and constantly keeping up with. And then once I realized that this was all overstimulation that I was feeling, it also dawned on me just how long this had been going on with me, how long I had been feeling this way, and that this had been going on much longer than I had previously thought. Within an hour of me having this epiphany, for, lack of a better word, my friend had also sent me a message concerned that I had been more engrossed in my phone while we were at the park, and it made them feel like I was disinterested in hanging out and not enjoying my time with them. I told them what I had realized and apologized for basically being the living embodiment of a boomer one-panel cartoon and dampening what should have been an enjoyable time for both of us. We ended up going out to the park again on Thursday, and we both had more time to spend together at the park than we did on Monday. And not only did I keep my phone more in my pocket and only pulled it out, to look something up if I needed to, and stayed off of social media during the next couple of days following this epiphany, we both had a much more enjoyable time that day. And, even though by the end of it, my feet were absolutely killing me and even needed to rest for like the next couple of days afterwards from all the walking. But, aside from that, we had a good time. During my downtime the rest of my workday on Tuesday, I did my best to unpack just how much I was stuck scrolling through all of these feeds and realizing that this behavior that I had picked up between being homebound during the pandemic and then taking on a very online hobby and potential, career / part-time job had basically created a behavioral addiction for me. I was getting these dopamine hits from scrolling through and keeping up with all of these different feeds. And it in turn would also feed into the delusion that these parasocial relationships with all of these accounts that I followed carried more meaning and weight to them. And like a ton of bricks, it hit me that I was putting more of my time and energy on people that I didn't know and would almost certainly never meet in person over a friend I've had for over 2 decades, since we were both teenagers, and whom considers me like a brother. I feel like this was my rock bottom moment. The point where it became crystal clear that this problem can't go on any longer. I had already not been making reviews for basically the entirety of the year, if not longer than that. I was barely keeping up with new movies at all in my free time. I continued to let my longtime podcast of a Pokemon-themed tabletop game languish with months upon months worth of unfinished episodes that need to be edited. And to top things off, I was constantly tired and anxious, which just made all of the problems that I was having all the worse. The last 2 weeks before this recording, I'd been oversleeping and ended up being late for work twice. And despite oversleeping, I was still tired and ready to go back to bed whenever I was up. Now I was openly neglecting my longest lasting and deepest friendship over ones and zeros displaying names on a screen who may not even be real people. And outside of a handful of fellow VTubers who have gone out of their way to show concern for my well-being, the names that are real people have at best only cared about my life a fraction as much as I have about theirs or anyone else's, at least in ways that they have shown. And they've definitely cared a fraction of a fraction as much as my friend has over the last 2 decades. It's clear that things really, genuinely need to change in my life. I need to stop spending my time and energy on endless feeds with people who at best see me as random citizen. I'd already been wanting to shift focus away from relying so much on social media and other people's Discord servers and instead have one of my own to serve as a home base. Then I can let other people put in the work to reach out to me instead of always being the one putting in the effort to reach out to others. I mean, I was even considering just completely unfollowing every account on social media so that my feeds would remain empty and give me less of a reason to stay on any social media site or app. But I think I'll save that nuclear option as a last resort. More than anything, it just became clear to me how much time I was giving to other people and how little of it I was allowing for myself. When I sat down to edit or write or work on anything for myself, I would always get sucked into scrolling through feeds instead, or hanging out in a Twitch chat or a Discord server. In our talk about me being on my phone at the park, my friend pointed out to me how worrying it was to see just how many of my relationships with others was parasocial, to the point that I'm relating things more in what someone I follow said or did over actual people that I know, friends, family, acquaintances, co-workers, people that I know personally. A topic would come up and my way of relating to it would usually be a variant of, oh, there was a video this person I follow made where, or this person I follow made a post where. Having some parasocial reference point is normal in a post-social media world. We all have that. That's just normal now. My friend has also mentioned accounts that they follow in conversation. But when it's the only point of reference being made and not life experiences or knowledge that you've gained from reading or talking to other people, it's clear that there's a real underlying issue there. And I mean, I was already aware of how bad my reliance on parasocial relationship was and my need for genuine human connection. There's 2 videos already on my YouTube unpacking just that. But it took an outside perspective to really highlight just how deep the problem went. Just how much I was relying on parasocial relationships that I had built up long before VTubing, on top of the ones I added once I started VTubing as a crutch to get by without a genuine social safety net in place. Right now, I'm not financially stable, so I can't really afford to go out places because we live in a late-stage capitalist hellscape where it costs money to leave the house. And following the events of the pandemic, I honestly still don't feel comfortable just going out unless it's for a reason, like to see a movie for a review, or to go to work, or if I need to run an errand of some kind. So I don't know about making any kind of new friends around where I live. And despite it being the one place everybody I know offline from before the pandemic congregates, I don't have it in me to return to Facebook, since every time I do, it just feels like I'm breathing in toxic fumes. It feels like I'm just huffing paint every time I get on there. It's one of the few social media that I just genuinely can't tolerate even being on anymore. So I don't know how many of my old friends I used to meet with pre-pandemic I'll be able to reconnect with going forward, since they don't really use other social media. But even if I can't rebuild a strong offline friend group for myself right now, the very least I can do is to stop feeding into this illusion I've created for myself. Stop propping up the crumbling parasocial networks that I've been clinging to instead of having genuine friendships with people. I've been neglecting myself for far too long. So instead of being omnipresent on social media or in people's chats or servers like I have been, I think it's time for my internet hermit arc to begin. To focus on actually making things for myself again, and not just let myself be an accessory to other people. And, just so the video doesn't end on such a dour note, I want to give you all an idea for what you can hopefully expect from me if this hermit arc goes well. I'm looking to make an updated PNG of myself to better represent me and, the aging that has happened to me, to better represent who I am now that I'm getting older. I'd want to return to video reviews, both 10-minute and longer ones for the newer theatrical releases on this channel, as well as clips of those and shorter reviews for my Clips channel and the various other social media, so that I can catch up on the movies this year that I missed the first time around. I want to have commissioned theme music eventually, and I even have an artist in mind for that music. I want to open commissions for video editing, thumbnail graphics, voice acting, and possibly even review subjects through either Ko-fi or VGen. And Ko-fi's already live, but I'm looking to get VGen up and running pretty soon. So look for, I'm going to be advertising that more in the near future, hopefully. I want to make video essays on top of reviews, and some of which I've been sitting on for the last decade. And I've been wanting to do whole series ideas that I've been, sitting on, wanting to make happen. So hopefully I can make that happen finally. I want to make the aforementioned Discord server, which once live would serve as my main online social hub going forward. I want to make a NeoCities website to not only better organize my videos from both YouTube channels, but it'll also help circumvent a lot of YouTube shenanigans. Because honestly, there's a lot of YouTube shenanigans, so if I can rely on them less and have a place to direct people to, instead of just YouTube, I think that'd be a good idea. I want to continue practicing and improving my drawing. I'll find places to post them and share my work. But I want to take more time that I've been neglecting on doing that and get better at it, because I started getting better and then I stopped doing it and got sucked into, doing things for other people and not for myself. I want to make a potentially self-rigged version of that updated PNG. So I want to make it so that new PNG has all the layers in place so that it can actually be rigged, and I want to teach myself to rig, because then I can also start offering that service for people if they want to. And then aside from all of the Deer and Projector Lights related stuff, I want to return to Dungeons and Dragon types, the Pokemon tabletop podcast I mentioned, so it's fully active once again. There's so much unedited audio there, and I just need to get it caught up so that we can get it back up and running again. And I really want to get those creative juices back up, because my creative wall, when it hit my video stuff, it hit that too. And I've been really trying to get back into that, not only for my sake, but for my players' sake, because they've been really dying to have it be a thing again, and they deserve it even more than I do. I don't know how long it'll take for me to hit these goals, or how many of them I'll hit, or even if I'll hit any of them. Aside from the Ko-fi one, that one's already up and running. But aside from that one, I don't know how many of these I'll hit, if I'll hit any of them. Only time will tell. 5 years as a PNG, and it's been a long, winding, and very bumpy road. I don't want to make it sound like my time spent in the communities I was in was fruitless or meaningless. I'm still happy for all of the memories I made and all of the different people that I met along the way. But it's obvious that the next leg of this journey can't be spent in the shadows of other people. I have to forge my own path going forward, whether or not people decide to follow. So, until next time, you can find me at the movies. I hope to see you there.